My name is Jane, and I'm co-owner of Super3Longevity with my husband, Sands. And my background is in food, fitness, and psychology. So I have my bachelor's degree in psychology. My passion is health and wellness and living a long, healthy life and helping people. Sands has his bachelor's degree in physics and a PhD in molecular medicine from the Penn State College of Medicine, and he's the formulator of our product, Super3Longevity. So about 2 years ago, Sands was developing Super3, and I was a caregiver for my mom. My mom was getting on in years. She was suffering for about 8 years with every different major illness associated with aging. So it was in 2021, her medical bills exceeded $1 million. In 2022, she was in the hospital yet again, and I was there, as I always was, trying to help her. I was committed to helping her live, to continue to live. But I was making end-of-life plans. I talked to the doctor. I was getting hospice involved. He agreed that it was time. So she discharged from the hospital. Hospice got started. The family came to visit, and we started to give my mom a Super3, and she started to get better. And she continued to get better to the point that it was like the clock was turned back 7 years. It was just amazing. She had, like I said, every chronic disease, but she had no more pain. She wasn't complaining. She was sleeping better. She had energy. She was going to fund fitness. We had a wonderful year. She graduated from hospice in 3 months. I took her to the cardiologist, and the cardiologist said, Myrna, you're a legend around here. You shouldn't be here right now, but you are. And we attribute that to Super3. So my mom, she had chronic UTIs, and I became resistant to antibiotics, but we had a wonderful year, and we attribute that to Super3. So after my mom's miracle year, I was all in on Super3. That's when I became committed to helping Sands launch this business and get it out there to the people. So, and it's been reinforced by our customers. We get really great feedback all the time. Our purpose is to optimize health span across a wide demographic, decrease biological age, slow the rate of aging, increase longevity biomarkers, over and above even the healthiest lifestyle and diet. Ironically, when you talk to people about, do you want to live longer? People say no, because they don't want those years to be full of suffering and decline. But if you could be guaranteed mental health and physical health, would you want to live a long life? Everybody says, yes, of course, I'd want to live forever. So it's all about quality of life. At this time in this country, there's a dual tsunami going on. The baby boomers are getting older, and with medical advances and the drug companies, they're keeping people alive longer, but people are suffering and they're sick. The other wave of sickness is coming from the younger generation. They're getting sicker earlier in life. This New York Times ad is by a drug company. It was recently in the New York Times. If you're lucky enough to live a long life, you will get sick. And they're there with their medications to keep us living longer, but oftentimes with lots of side effects and not feeling well. At the same time, there's the supplement industry, and it's wrought with scams and things that just don't really work. And I could go on and on about that, but it's just the way it is. And the anti-aging longevity market in 2022 was about $1.1 billion and is anticipated to hit $2.3 billion by 2030. So the way that we want to validate, because we only want to have this product out there and, with people taking it, is if it really works. So we're validating it with something that we're going to become part of called the X Prize. And the X Prize is an organization that tackles the world's greatest problems. And their current thing is longevity. So it's a $101 million prize to the group that is able to turn back the biological clock 10 to 20 years in the areas of muscle, cognitive, and immune function. And we want to be contenders. Billionaire Brian Johnson, he came up with the Rejuvenation Olympics. And it's the same thing. He wants to turn the clock back on with people. And there's people all over the world that are joining in on this competition. And they're using biological age as their reference. And a lot of the people are using True Diagnostics, the company that we partnered with. It's an epigenetic testing company. So Brian's group is looking at the turning the clock back on 13 different organ systems. The current status of our company, in 2 years, we went from a pet product to a people product based on demand. We have a second generation product that's ready to be launched once our partners and investors come on board, hopefully later this year, to applying cutting edge methodology for validation. However, our sales at this point have been limited to person-to-person sales at vegan festivals and farmers markets. We do have repeat online sales, and so far we haven't spent any money on advertising. The fact that most supplements don't work really drove Sands to develop this product, a product that really works. And validation, of course, is important. That's the most important thing. So we partnered with True Diagnostics, and he got an email recently from the owner that said, you have to watch Kardashians tonight because they're using True Diagnostics to figure out their biological age. We don't watch the Kardashians, but we tuned in. So with True Diagnostics, and then they also, there was a segment on the Today Show where they looked at all these different biological tests. It's really becoming a popular thing to do. Every week there's a headline regarding some new study looking at longevity and slowing the biological clock. So this is some of Sands's results. And when you get the test kit, it comes with 2 lancets, and you put a couple droplets of blood on the paper, send it into the company, they run their analysis, and then you get your results and a consultation. And it's not inexpensive. It's $500 to do the test kit. So his biological age is actually 5 years lower than his chronological age, which is good. If it wasn't, we'd be closing up shop. His pace of aging is also slower than 1 calendar year. He's aging at 16% slower than a calendar year. Now, that's translates into, if you were to start the product sooner, if you started the product, let's say at 20, that could get you 12 extra years of life. My mother started the product in her 80s, and she got an extra year. Antioxidant protection. This product is chock full of antioxidants, and I'll tell you more about that in a minute. But Sands was in the 89th percentile. I was in the 92nd percentile. That's good. You want that number to be really high. Inflammation, the inflammatory markers, that's another thing that we target. You want that number to be low. Sands is in the 16th percentile. Super3 also contributes to liver detoxification. He's a regular drinker. He drinks it. Well, first off, True Diagnostics looks at environmental insults such as drinking and smoking. And Sands drinks 2 craft beers on average a day. His numbers were actually lower than somebody who never drinks at all. So that speaks to the detoxification of the liver that this product has to offer. So our pitch goes something like this. If somebody were to walk up to the booth, I would say we target the 3 root causes of aging in 3 different ways. We're all about optimizing health span so that you can live a long, healthy life above and beyond even the healthiest diet. We target the 3 root causes with our fruit powders. We have strawberry, blackberry, blueberry, and apple powders. And when those are taken in a high enough dose all at once, it turns on our natural antioxidant pathways. It's not the same as nibbling on fruit all throughout the day. You really need a concentrated dose all at once to get the benefits of turning on those pathways. We also have a prebiotic fiber. It's called inulin. It's from the sunchoke. And that fiber feeds the good gut flora. So we know that as we get older, our immune system starts to falter and our microbiome it doesn't function as well. They're calling it the second brain. And by feeding the good gut flora, the good bacteria outnumber the bad. Our star ingredient is fisetin, and most people have not heard of fisetin, but everybody knows about turmeric, right? So turmeric, Sands had a product with turmeric in it 15 years before turmeric became a household word. Fisetin is the most potent anti-inflammatory ever discovered. So you can get it in small amounts in strawberries and apples, but when it's extracted from the smoke tree, it's very concentrated. So scientists, they scanned compounds to see how they're going to work against different disease. And they found that when they gave fisetin to lab animals at the equivalent of a 75-year-old human, they lived 35% longer in good health. And that's unheard of in science. So that study sparked about 25 clinical trials in humans against all the different diseases of aging. And fisetin, the way that it works is as we get older, our cells, they should die off, but they don't. They sit there spewing out inflammatory compounds. Fisetin, the molecular pathway, is it goes to those cells and it helps them kill themselves. So inflammation goes down naturally with zero toxicity, and the diseases of aging go down as well as a result. So what I just described to you is a whole field called senolytics. And the group that discovered that, they're going to win a Nobel Prize in a couple of years, mark my word. But fisetin goes way beyond the anti-inflammatory and senolytic component. So it has many things to offer. So it's the synergy of those three categories, ingredients, and the way that it affects our physiology that is what we're all about here. So at this point, that's the end of my presentation. And I had the question of how can we translate our pitch to online sales? But the other thing that we'd like to know is, out of my pitch everything that I just explained to you, what was your takeaway message from that?
My question is not about your pitch, is that how much does the product cost?
Well, that's a good question. Thank you. The product is $48. So this is a 1-month supply and it's $48. It's a tablespoon a day. So you can mix this into any beverage of your choice, almond milk, tea, juice. You can mix it into water or a smoothie that you're already making. And you can sprinkle it on food. You can put it on oatmeal, yogurt, applesauce. We sold a bag recently to a guy. He called Sands and he said he's just eating it out of the bag with a spoon, which is kind of odd, but another customer puts it in a chocolate milkshake. So it's about $1.60 a day. That's what we sell it for at events. If you buy it online, then it's $54. And I tell people when I'm talking one-on-one with somebody that you can hardly buy an apple for $1 a day, let alone everything that's in this bag. So, and I also tell people it's not just a bunch of powders thrown in a bag, it's a clinically relevant dose. So.
And how long does one bag last?
A month. Yeah. And then the other thing that I tell people is if you're, what I didn't mention here was because of this graph, we're realizing that our demographic is probably bigger than we initially thought. We thought our demographic was 45, 50 to about 75, but we're selling to younger people because they, like I said, about younger people getting sicker earlier, and they want the benefits. I just talked to a woman who's been just the other on Saturday. We were at a Veg Fest in Phoenixville, and she said, I've been taking your product for a year. She's 40. She just turned 40. She's like, I don't really notice anything, but I just want the preventative.
I know that you're saying it makes people live longer, et cetera. So, but what exactly physically does it do to the body? What have people said that it does?
Yeah, so the thing that we notice most is older people with very serious issues. They're the ones that see the biggest benefit, which is kind of surprising. Middle-aged people with joint pain, things like that, notice a pretty rapid benefit from that. As far as lifespan, it'll be 50 years before anybody knows whether you can extend maximum lifespan. But this kind of technology, this epigenetic testing, is like the wave of the future. It really can predict risk factors for every age-related disease. It can predict very accurately the early generation tests could predict your chronological age within a year. Now they can predict your biological age, how many years you have left in your life, things like that. So it's really becoming very sophisticated. And then the age of the different organ systems. There's 13 different organ systems. You can see differentially how, which ones are younger versus older.
Okay, so it'll change like the physiology of like, if your lungs were having problems, it could change like the physiology.
It could change really everything about your health. And like we say, it's the 3 root causes. Our next generation product will be more like 5. But, oxidative stress is huge. We talked about the Nobel Prize winning research behind this. I mean, it was the discovery of telomeres and telomerase that really got me into the field. And revelation in graduate school was that nothing will shorten those telomeres more than oxidative stress. And people take vitamins, they take pills, capsules, it's all about antioxidants, but they really don't work. There's a lot of meta-analysis studies showing, thousands of studies, that multivitamins can be harmful. They have no use, no good benefit. And all the science agrees with that. You know, if you eat healthy foods and you can turn on your natural pathways, if you take vitamins along with that, you'll defeat that. So all the science is backing up what we're doing. So that's oxidative stress, and the way we do it with the fruit powders that are the proven dose. And then this is again, the wave of the future for inflammation, you know, killing senescent cells. And every day a new study comes out about the microbiome, how important that is. Yeah.
We have, in a month, we had 5 people with MS start taking the product. And the one gentleman called me and he said, Jane, he said, after 4 days, I was walking around my house and I realized I was walking around without any pain and I was moving much better.
Just first of all, you did an amazing job of getting a lot of science into a pitch quickly and making it understandable. That's a little rare. You also did a great job, incidentally, of promoting True Diagnostic, right? So have you explored a partnership with them where they might suggest your product to people who get results they don't like?
Say that again.
Have you exploring a relationship with True Diagnostic, a commercial relationship where when somebody doesn't like their results,
right.
you can be suggested as an avenue to follow. I'm just thinking. I'm thinking of a low upfront cost marketing sales channel.
Right. That's an awesome idea. I just talked with the founder yesterday. Had a meeting. They are wanting to remain like independent. They don't want to promote this supplement, that supplement, because they're the leading company. There's about a dozen epigenetic tests on the market. These are the most expensive, the most sophisticated. They have relationships with Harvard and Yale, developing these crazy accurate analogs or algorithms. But I think the thing to do would be to do the clinical trial and then be able to refer to that test. But
And
that is a great idea.
We have some customers doing that where they did the test, now they're taking the product, and 6 months later they're going to do the test again.
And they're sharing those results with you, I hope.
Yeah, we actually get the results before they do, because we have the ability to advise people on their situation. And it's very complicated. It's not just, you can opt for a simpler test and just look at rate of aging, for example. But then you have nothing really to go by, where if you do the $500 test, you're getting like probably 100 different parameters. And a lot of them aren't even recognized by medical doctors because they're proxies. They're not an actual blood measurement. This doesn't actually measure that in the blood for real, but it's a very accurate proxy of it. So they know that that's a very accurate thing, but it's not the same as a blood test. You'd spend $10,000 to get those actual results in all these different things.
Just to underscore the previous comment, congratulations on obviously condensing all that science into a short pitch. But I'm going to geek out on the science a little bit, unpack that a little bit. Fisetin, isn't that an antioxidant?
It's absolutely an antioxidant.
So how is that any different than other antioxidants, and where is it derived from?
Yeah,
naturally?
Fisetin is prevalent in many different fruits and vegetables, but a tiny, tiny amount. So for example, something people are more familiar with, quercetin, it's almost chemically identical to fisetin. There's just one OH group that's different, but dramatically different benefits. So quercetin is in apples, it's in the apple peel. That's also an antioxidant. But when you use the word antioxidant, it is so complicated. It's not about quenching free radicals that you're getting the benefit. So for example, vitamin C is a great antioxidant. You put vitamin C and you have free radicals, it will help quench them. And everybody thought that was good. So even Nobel Prize winners like Linus Pauling was totally fooled, thinking you could just megadose on vitamin C and that's going to slow the aging process, but you're actually doing harm. So you don't want the direct antioxidant. You don't want to be taking the vitamins, the pills, because again, that defeats the body's natural ability to turn on its own antioxidant protection. So there's a pathway. This was a good bit of my PhD research. It's called the NRF2 pathway. So it's a pathway that controls maybe 100 different genes. Many of them are detoxification, many are antioxidant protection. So there's antioxidants in the body like glutathione. SOD is one. They're massively turned on when you take things like the right dose of these berries. So now the body knows when and where to produce these antioxidants, way more efficient than taking direct antioxidants. So it's a huge educational problem to explain that to people. They think they're taking antioxidants and doing good, but they're not.
And as far as where the fisetin comes from, that we get it from the smoke tree. I'm not sure if I mentioned that. Okay, good. And that's been used medicinally in Eastern Europe for about 2,000, 3,000 years. So.
Yeah, they never knew why or how. And it was only after this study. Fisetin was recognized as a useful flavonoid, but they were just screening. And this all started with, once they found that these senolytic, they call them zombie cells, that they were the source of the chronic inflammation. Then they started screening for drugs that would kill those cells. And the first thing they discovered was a cancer drug. And then they found that if you combine that cancer drug with quercetin, that it works better. And that started a whole bunch of clinical trials, like maybe a dozen clinical trials, that some are still ongoing. But then they said, if quercetin works, are there other natural compounds? And then they discovered fisetin, which is about twice as effective as that cancer drug plus quercetin without any side effects. So it's pretty fascinating, the studies that are going on just with that one ingredient.
My question would be, can absolutely everyone take this? Or would you, if somebody has a certain condition or takes certain medications that would affect negatively, instead of
so
them?
Far there's been no interference with any medication that anybody knows about. You wouldn't give this to a child, but
under 12.
Yeah,
because we have had some teenagers start taking it with gut issues.
Young people with gut issues. There's certainly no harm. But what I would recommend anybody 20 and older, and especially in today's world where the standard American diet is killing people, and this can counteract some of the bad things. They find evidence of early cardiovascular disease even in infants. It's crazy what they're being fed and the fatty streaks in the arteries. It's mind-boggling.
I mentioned we had been out at farmers markets selling. And so we would see people week after week. So our customers would buy, and then we'd see them the next week at market. So we got to get feedback from them. We got feedback. And out of hundreds of people that we've sold to, there were 2 people that came by and said they were having some gut issues. They had gut issues to begin with. So they started taking it, and they had a little bit of, gas and some discomfort. So for people with celiac disease or some, I'm just trying to think, IBS, we've had remarkable stories of people with IBS that started taking, they're like, it was cured. And then they'd experiment going off of it and going back on it, and it was gone. And so then they would just take it as needed. And that's what this person did. So if somebody has a specific issue, sometimes we'll recommend just starting off with 1 teaspoon and then gradually building up to a tablespoon.
Yeah. The thing about the microbiome,
we don't want to go over our time.
Yeah, you want to be gradual. People that have horrible diets, horrible species in the gut, and you start to feed them healthy things like fiber, and the bad bacteria rebel against that, and you can have symptoms that would cause them to like stop eating fiber. But you have to do it gradual, and some people do.
Would it have any negative impact if you just stop using your product? Like if you were using it for 2 years and then you stop?
I can't imagine any negative thing other than if somebody has a poor diet and then the bad species start to come back in the gut, things like that. We do have some people where if they stop taking it, their joint pain does come back.
Right. Just like as it was before, but it's not going to, you don't become dependent on it to where your body will be worse than it was before you took it.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Not that we know of.